So, Simon here again, talking more about the changes I've been making to my speech for the semi-final in less than 3 weeks. There was a few really interesting things that came up, which I wanted to share because I suppose it might help other people's speeches. But there were 3 points which really stuck with me that I've hadn't really noticed myself, and I'm trying to bring into my speech. So one of them is part of my speech is telling this story about a gentleman, and strangely I had never given him a name, and I always talked about him as this man and this man and that man, and a couple of people rightly pointed out that he needs a name, named him John, and that, you know, just by putting that, it makes the story more believable. It is a true story, but it does make it more believable, and allows you to kind of help the audience picture what you're talking about. So that was a change that I've just slipped in the last few weeks. The other really interesting thing is at the beginning of my speech I talk about McDonald's and when I used to work at McDonald's, and a couple of people said it to me that it almost comes across at some point that I'm taking the piss out of McDonald's and people who work in fast food places, and I thought that was really interesting because I loved working in McDonald's and I loved working in Pizza Hut, and I mean, you learn so much from those jobs, and how else do you get started in work? And so, yeah, I do kind of poke fun at it, but it's, you know, that's not the kind of message I'm trying to get across. And actually, even I met Mohamed Khatani, the current world champion, and he heard my speech, and one of the things he said was, "Don't mention McDonald's," because people associated with McDonald's could get offended, and I really don't want to cut out the word McDonald's. So what I'm working on for the next time is I have just almost like an extra half sentence trying to get across that I loved working there, and that's really difficult. But that's something that I just completely didn't see as from looking at my own speech, and that's why going out for these evaluations was really important. The other thing I thought was really interesting was some of the people, world finalists who have evaluated me and who I've seen do other evaluations for, talk a lot about the appropriateness of the audience in the competition. And I think speaking in Ireland, you can get away with a lot. You can swear a lot. You can swear a bit. You can blaspheme a bit. But as you get further up in the competition, that becomes less acceptable. And then in the United States, obviously the judges are from all over the world, from all different districts, and so you have to be really mindful of that. So I mean, like, obviously you can't blaspheme and swear, but even there was I saw one of the other semi-finalists speak, and she mentioned getting your period, women getting their period, and talking about that. And one of the people was like, you need to cut that out, because in a lot of cultures it's just not acceptable to talk about that, which is, it's really lame that we can't leave all this stuff in, but I get it. If you want to win the contest, you have to be not bland, but Toastmasters has to be, just so neutral if you want to win the contest. And so I mean, that's kind of made me look at my speech a little bit differently, that I need to, it needs to be acceptable and appropriate to every audience. And that's tougher than you think. Yeah. So that's the other stuff I've learned.